Well, ladies and gentlemen, Uncle Claude here. I'm going to have to make this as brief as possible, but to make a long story short, man, I have been on a roll lately. Last week was a very good week, and this is my season record. I am 42 wins, 32 losses, a 0.595 winning percentage. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people wish that their head coaches had that type of record. In fact, you know what? I was a bit worried last week with my performance, but I certainly more than righted the ship because last week was a very robust week for me. In fact, I was 11-4 last week. That was one of the best records I've had. In fact, it was the best record that I had during the season. And you know what? It's so nice that I hope to do it twice, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hit the music. Let's hit the damn music. Yeah, I don't want the music to overpower me as it has the last few times. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am back a little late with the NFL picks, but better late than never, ladies and gentlemen. And let's hope that I keep moving on as I have like this past week. Definitely right at the ship. And in a couple of hours, less than 2 hours, is a Thursday night game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers go into Philly, taking on the Eagles. Gronk is out. He'll probably be out a month. You have to be very happy if you're an Eagle fan with the play of Jalen Hurts, even though, let's face it, his offensive line is not the greatest. Lane Johnson is out, non-injury related. I do think the Eagles are going to play well again. They have been pretty stout this season. They had a chance, obviously, to win against the Chiefs. They didn't, but they did play well and won last week. Do I believe the Eagles are going to win 2 weeks in a row? No. But I do believe they will play well tonight. I like Tampa Bay in a close one, 28-24 over the Eagles. Next up is the London game where the Miami Dolphins get Tua back, and he will be starting at quarterback, and he will go up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are still looking for their first win. Their second win, excuse me. They did. No, they lost to the Houston Texans. I'm sorry. They're still looking for their first win. We know that Urban Meyer has been a joke. But for the Jaguars, London has almost been a home away from home for them. And if there's ever a chance for them to get a win, it is against the Dolphins, who have been awful offensively. I mean, let's face it. Even when Tua was in the lineup, they weren't doing great. And with Jacoby Brissett, they were even worse. I mean, they had the one outburst, but for the most part, they've been terrible. I'm not sold on Tua. Expect that phone to Deshaun Watson to start heating up here. I like the Jaguars over Miami. That is one of my upsets here, 24-21. I'm picking the Jaguars. Next up, the Kansas City Chiefs go into Washington to take on the Washington football team. That is going to be, it will not be as emotional as people think it will be because so much time has passed. They should have retired this young man's jersey a long time ago. It should have been in the rafters. I understand that he only played a handful of seasons, but Sean Taylor was about to be a super duper star. You could make a case that he was the best safety in the NFL when tragedy struck. He was killed in a home invasion years ago. And to be fair, the franchise has never, ever recovered from that. Now, a lot of people will talk about RG3 and how his failure to become the pocket passer that they envisioned him to be has set the team back. But it was really the Sean Taylor thing that set this team back a lot. Now, Washington is going to play spirited football. They have, for the most part now. They got smoked against Buffalo. But Buffalo is they're just on the tear. And they're the second or third hottest team in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills. Now, Washington is going to keep it close. And the Chiefs' defense keep both teams in the game. We know that. But I expect the Chiefs to bounce back here. I mean, we know that they're 2-3. Obviously, they are the most talented 2-3 team in all of the NFL. I expect the Chiefs' offense to do its thing. I mean, Washington is going to give them some pressure because the Chiefs' offensive line isn't great, but unfortunately, Washington's secondary isn't great either. And let's face it, Mahomes is the great equalizer here. Kansas City 31, Washington 24 in that one. Next up, the LA Rams go into MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Giants. Giants have all types of injuries. I'm not sure if Daniel Jones is going to play or not due to the concussion. Saquon Barkley, the high ankle sprain, he more than likely will not go. And I'm going to be honest, even if they did go, I'm so disappointed in the Giants. I mean, they had a golden opportunity to make it 2-0, but then the injury struck. And let's face it, Mike Glennon just isn't any good. He never has been. Like, he can get away with a couple of teams. He can do some things. He's not going to do anything. He's a statue. Aaron Donald's going to get at least 2 sacks here. The Giants' offensive line is actually so-so, but Mike Glennon's a statue. Matt Stafford, listen, they're going to want a little bounce-back game because Arizona beat the daylights out of them. Now, it is always weary to go with the West Coast team playing an East Coast team at 1 o'clock. It's always wary. I understand that. But I like the Rams too much. Giants are too banged up. Rams 28, Giants 20 in that one. And the Giants will get another top 3 pick the way it's going right now. Next up, the Houston Texans travel to the Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Colts had a chance to win last week. They blew it against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, we know that Houston is a little bit more than an expansion team yet again, the way they're playing. Team in disarray. The quarterback is actually trying, but he's just overmatched, let's face it. Indianapolis is much better than his record indicates. I believe they will show it here. I mean, Carson Wentz actually played well last week. Can't really blame him for the loss. Colts defense has underachieved. And they do have a lot of injuries in the secondary. But they should have more than enough to beat up on Houston. I like the Colts 31-21 over the Houston Texans in that one. Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals go into Detroit to take on the Lions. The Lions are another team that's due for a victory. I mean, they are a team that just finds ways to lose, man. I mean, it's just insane. They're always close in these games, but they find ways to lose, just like the Bengals used to. But the Bengals are playing better, no question about it. But one thing about teams like that, they really cannot stand prosperity. I mean, I do believe that this is the week for Detroit to get over the hump and finally get a win. Now, listen, it's going to be nip and tuck. All the Lions games are nip and tuck close games. Jared Goff is a turnover machine. I'm really a fan of Joe Burrow, no question about it. And listen, would I be shocked if the Bengals won this game? Absolutely not. But I do believe that listen, if they go 0-6, I don't care how new this coach is, you're going to have to start looking at other people, no question about it. But I believe Mr. Campbell gets off the snide, gets his first win. Lions 27, Bengals 24. Next up, the Green Bay Packers take on the Chicago Bears. If you're a Bears fan, you have to be happy with the way the team has responded under Mr. Justin Fields. Now, Fields hyperextended that knee. And listen, his mobility is a big factor here. I mean, I'm pretty sure they do not want to go back to Andy Dalton. They do not want to do that. I mean, once you go the route Justin Fields, you really do not want to go backwards. Aaron Rodgers has played pretty good, not great. I do believe that will continue. That Bears defense is tough. Man, would I be shocked if the Bears won this game at home? Absolutely not. But I don't think the Bears have enough firepower to stand up to the Packers. I think the Packers are going to make a couple of plays, just enough plays to beat Chicago. This is going to be a rough and tough game. But I'm going to give it to Green Bay here. Green Bay 24, Chicago 21. That is going to be a rock'em sock'em football game, no question about it. It's going to be more old school than anything else. But Aaron Rodgers is going to make just enough plays, in my opinion. Now, next up, Justin Herbert and the Chargers take on the Baltimore Ravens and Mr. Lamar Jackson. These are the top two guys in the MVP race, in my opinion. Because Lamar Jackson is playing at a stellar rate. He really is. The problem is, I think Herbert is actually playing better. Now, Jackson is the more dangerous because of his legs and his arm. But Justin Herbert has so many weapons on that offense. And Keenan Allen is the most underrated wide receiver in all of pro football. He really is. But Lamar Jackson, he's just a special football player. He really is. I believe that he's playing some of his best football. Is it going to be a barn burner? Absolutely. Justin Tucker is the great, outside of Adam Vinatieri, Justin Tucker is the best field goal kicker I've ever seen. And I believe he's going to pull this one out. Now, the Chargers could wreck this game. But again, it's a West Coast team going up against the East Coast team. Still, and I believe it's in the 1 o'clock venue still. I mean, even if it wasn't, they normally have problems with Baltimore and that defense. The defense is not as good as it once was, but it is going to be good enough, I believe, against the Chargers. I like the Ravens here. And listen, being a Steeler fan, you know I don't like to root for the Ravens. And I'm not going to root for them. But listen, you know me. I am not biased at all. I'm very fair and I'm very balanced. And I am a Lamar Jackson fan. I'm going to go Baltimore 30, LA Chargers 27 in that one. Next up, the Minnesota Vikings go with the Carolina to take on the Panthers. McCaffrey's going to be out again. I'm not sure if Cook is going to play for the Vikings. It comes down to who do I trust less, Sam Darnold or Kirk Cousins. Now, the Panthers they got stomped on against the Cowboys. Now, a lot of people are trying to put the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. I mean, pump your brakes. I mean, they're playing well right now, but are they really Super Bowl bound? I mean, come on. I mean, jeez. Do they have enough to beat the Vikings? The Vikings are the quintessential 500 team. And, you know, this is a game where Kirk Cousins is going to give them a couple of picks. I like the Panthers in a bounce back game. They've lost a couple in a row. I do believe they will right the ship here. I believe the Panthers will beat the Vikings at home 27-24. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals go up against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Now, that's going to be a 4 o'clock start for them, so that's closer to their regular timing. And there's the third guy in the MVP voting. And you can make a case that Kyler Murray is the front runner. I know I mentioned Herbert and I mentioned Lamar Jackson being 1 and 2. I'm wrong on that. They're 2 and 3 because as of right now, Kyler Murray is the number 1 quarterback in all of football. I have to say that. He has been outstanding. And of course, he has arguably the best receiver in football, but he's made use of all of his weapons. Let's make no mistake about that. And he's made Cliff Kingsbury look like an actual NFL coach. And that's no small feat. I mean, Kyler Murray is amazing. He is a younger, faster, stronger-armed Russell Wilson. And that's saying a lot. Because I hold Russell Wilson in very high regard. And I believe this kid has a chance to be much better than him. And he's definitely got the weapons around him. They actually have a nice little two-headed running attack with Chase Edmonds and James Conner. The defense with Chandler Jones is playing well. Budda Baker. The Browns have run the football well. And you know what? Baker Mayfield has played okay. I mean, he played great a couple of games, but he hasn't been lights out. Their defense has played pretty well, but I believe Arizona is going to give them problems with that receiving core. I like Arizona going into Cleveland. I believe they will win this game 27-24. I believe that Baker Mayfield's going to throw one up, and Kyler Murray's going to make a play at the end of that game to win it. I mean, he's on that type of a run. There's no doubt about it. I am a huge Kyler Murray fan. Next up, the Denver Broncos, who came off a loss against the Steelers, are going back home to take on the Raiders. Now, we all know what happened with John Gruden. I will more than likely do an upload on that tomorrow. And listen, we all know that Gruden's been who he's always been as far as I'm concerned. I'm not shocked at that. And I tell you what, in a lot of ways for the Raiders, that's going to be addition by subtraction. And I tell you what, Derek Carr is going to feel a lot better because he was always made the scapegoat of this thing as far as why they haven't made the playoffs. Now we get to see the real Derek Carr. I'm pretty sure they're going to tailor the offense more to his liking. Are the Raiders going to play better? Absolutely. And they've been in every game for the most part. Will they win it? I believe that Bridgewater and friends are going to bounce back. I just have that feeling. Bridgewater is perfect for that team. And they had a chance to beat the Steelers at the end of the game in Pittsburgh. But Denver definitely plays much better at home. That mile-high altitude is going to play a factor into this. Denver 27, Raiders 24. Let's give them the nod in that one. Next up, the Cowboys go into New England and take on Belichick, Mac Jones, and the Pats. I do not believe the Patriots have enough offense for the Cowboys. The Cowboys stopped a mud hole in the Giants. They beat up the Giants. Let's give them their props there. Now, I believe it's going to be a lot closer game than people think. And the score, listen, I believe that the Dallas Cowboys are going to beat them by 10, but it's going to be because they wore them out. It's not going to be because Mac Jones is terrible. It's just Dallas is on such a roll right now. And both running backs, Elliott and Pollard, are playing well. That takes a lot of pressure off of Dak. I just think Dallas has just too many weapons for New England to handle because New England likes to take one guy away. Well, if you take away Dak, the offensive line and Elliott and Pollard are going to beat you up. then listen, that kid at the corner position, he's just a difference maker. I mean, is he the best corner in the NFL? Listen, he's playing for the biggest team in the NFL as far as marketing. And this kid is a top 3 corner. And he is a revelation. But you saw it even coming on last year before he got hurt. This Diggs kid is special. There's no doubt about it. Now, they're trying to put him up there with Mel Blount, Dion, and Revis. Pump the brakes a little bit. He's got to do this for at least 3 years to even be considered into that. But I understand why you would go a little crazy if you're a Cowboy, because let's face it, the Cowboys haven't had that type of guy. They thought that they thought that Jones was going to be that guy. He never became that. So, and listen, if you have a corner like that, you do ride it for all you can. There's no doubt about it, because that might be the hardest thing to come by in all of football is a semi-shutdown corner, because you cannot really be a shutdown corner in today's NFL. Now, the Sunday night game is a trap game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I say that because Russell Wilson's going to be out for at least 6 to 8 weeks. The running game for Seattle's banged up, and Geno Smith is the quarterback. Listen, the Steelers should beat this team up. They should. And also, that offensive line of Seattle stinks. I mean, Pittsburgh's offensive line is no great shakes. It's better than Seattle's offensive line. Najee Harris had his first 100-yard game. Let's hope it's the first of many for the Steelers. Seattle's defense is not as good as advertised. I mean, I know Adams is good. I mean, they have a couple of holdovers like Wagner. But you can run on this team. If the Steelers are really going to make a run, they're going to win games like this pretty handily. And I do believe that at home, the Steelers are going to start to get it cranked up. And it's easy to look like that. Hey, salute Third War Columbian. How's everything? I believe that, listen, Geno Smith is going to make any defense look good. I don't know if Devin Bush is going to be able to play. If you're able to hold him out, do so, because we want him healthy against our division, because we need him against Cleveland, Cincinnati, and, of course, the Ravens. But I'm going to go with the Steelers here. I do believe the Steelers are starting to get it turned around a little bit. And let's face it, Big Ben, listen, that injury to Juju Smith-Schuster is addition by subtraction in some ways, because Juju, let's face it, I mean, he's a decent receiver. He's not as good as Deontay Johnson. He sure as heck isn't as good as Chase Claypool. The tight end is going to get more looks. Now, listen, if I'm the Steelers, I would trade Eric Ebron for a bag of footballs. If you can get a 3rd or 4th round pick for Eric Ebron, have at it, because I'm sick of him. For every catch he makes, he drops 2. I'm sick of Eric Ebron. And this kid has to have a chance to develop. Just get a blocking tight end along with Freiermuth from Penn State, and away we go. We do not need the albatross that is Eric Ebron. And in fact, James Washington is going to get a lot of looks. It's a good thing that the Steelers held on to him, because I believe he's got some big games ahead of him. Then they signed Anthony Miller. He will be signed from the practice squad. He has a lot of ability. Remember, he was a 2nd-round pick of Chicago. And actually, he was pretty good before he went to Houston. And let's face it, you can't go by what Houston is, because Houston, that franchise, that organization is run terribly. I like the Steelers big, 31-20 over the Seattle Seahawks. And the final game, the Monday night game, the Buffalo Bills going into Tennessee to take on the Titans. That Buffalo offense is running on all cylinders right now. Tennessee did have a bounce-back victory. I just don't trust Ryan Tannehill as far as I can throw him. The Titans defense is also underwhelmed. I believe Buffalo is another team they're firing offense, defense, special teams. From top to bottom, Buffalo's the better team. No question who the better quarterback is. Josh Allen's going to get a few MVP votes. Listen, I'm with you on that. I hate that they call them the Texans. The only reason that they are the Houston Oilers is because of that sorry bastard Bud Adams. He refuses to relinquish the rights to the name Oilers. They should have gave it to the Houston franchise. So much history. I mean, I know you're not as old as I am, but if you are, you remember the Earl Campbells, the Love You Blue Houston Oilers back with Pastorini, Elvin Bethea, Curly Culp, those guys. Now, the problem with that team was there was a team in Pittsburgh that had a couple of guys named Mean Joe Green, Jack Lambert. They had Franco. They had Lynn Swan, John Stallworth, Terry Bradshaw, Mel Blount. I mean, they weren't beating that team. That's all there is to it. Yeah, you know what? And I have a throwback Sterling Sharp jersey on. Sterling Sharp should be in the Hall of Fame, but that's another story. And I will be doing an upload on that sometime next week. I used to have a Warren Moon Houston Oilers jersey. Warren Moon, to me, I don't know of anybody who threw a prettier ball than Warren Moon. He's the most underrated quarterback in NFL history. We all know that racism kept him out. There is no way that Warren Moon, if everything was equal, would have every record in the NFL when he retired. We all know that. He played well into his 40s and was still spinning it. Warren Moon, that was my guy, man. That was my guy. And it was a shame that they never built the team around him correctly. They had him in that run and shoot, which would get him damn near killed. Never had a tight end until he went to Minnesota. And Chris Carter himself will tell you that it was Warren Moon who made him the professional and made him the all-pro wide receiver that he was. But see, getting me hyped up, man, talking about Warren Moon and those guys. Haywood Jeffries, he caught 100 balls. Yeah, see, Randall Cunningham's another guy who should be in the Hall of Fame. Warren Moon was mobile, but nobody was as mobile as Randall until obviously Mike Vick, who's probably, now Lamar Jackson has taken it to a whole new ball game. But Randall Cunningham, he was Superman. I mean, I remember he used to kick the Giants' fanny every single time, Randall Cunningham. And he was a one-man team. You talk about a guy who didn't have a team built around him. He had two halfway wide receivers and a Chris Carter who was drunk. The best receiver he had on the team was Keith Jackson, the tight end, if you remember, who used to play for the University of Oklahoma. Keith Jackson was a very good tight end, but he wasn't a great player. But he was a great pass-catching tight end. He ended up winning a Super Bowl with those Green Bay Packers. Warren Moon, you can make a case that Warren Moon and Dan Marino are the two best quarterbacks to have never won a Super Bowl. But at least Miami tried to build around Marino. Houston never built around Warren Moon. And he was an old man by the time he got to Minnesota and still threw for 3,000 yards. But see, you got me going again with Herb Ward Colombian. I digress. Josh Allen is a very good quarterback. Is he a great quarterback? Listen, you gotta win a Super Bowl to be considered a great quarterback in today's NFL. Now, you can be a great quarterback and not win it. I get it. I just mentioned two. But see, those guys, they did not build around those guys. And you're right about that. It is a default deal. The Colts should have beaten the Ravens, no question about it. But listen, Lamar Jackson is just great. Lamar Jackson he has a chance to be the best that did it when it's all said and done. It'll be interesting to see if Baltimore is going to be smart enough to build around him, because they should. And he is up for a new contract. I tell you what, let him have any problems, the Steelers should swoop in and take him. But I know the Steelers probably won't. But I better not see Mason Rudolph anywhere near it being starting quarterback next year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'd rather the Steelers get somebody in the draft or get a proven veteran. But I do not want, if it's not going to be Mason Rudolph, if it's not going to be a guy they draft, I would rather them get a guy like Lamar Jackson if he is an available free agent. But I like Buffalo easy against the Titans, 34-27. I know the Titans are at home, but Buffalo matches up too well. They're just too good on both sides of the ball. But yeah, rocking Randall Cunningham before he got hurt. Remember, he tore his knee, came back with Minnesota, and won the MVP. A lot of that had to do with Randy Moss, but Randall Cunningham definitely stabilized the quarterback position. No question about it. I'm going to have to do an upload about the evolution of the modern day NFL quarterback. I'm going to do that sometime next week. But those are my NFL picks. Remember, last week, 11-4. I hope to keep the ball rolling here this week. And I thank you so much for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. UncleClaude signing out. You take care, good brother. Third Ward, Columbia, Fifth Ward. Good Lord. I almost told on myself on that one. I got people down there, man, but that's another story. You take care of yourself, good brother, Third Ward, Columbian. And everybody out there, please stay safe, take care. God bless. And, man, I tell you what, man, please, we got to get it together as a people. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The time has come now. Peace.